Square Cow Countdowns. I am Slash, and this is the second episode of Rangerpaloozaa, the topic for which is the top 10 worst seasons of Power Rangers. Let's get started. Except for number 1, just because a season found its way onto this list doesn't mean it's horrible. I mean, this is Power Rangers after all. It's never gonna win any Emmys. But even the worst seasons still have all the same great action that you'd expect. Keep in mind that a lot of these choices are based on my own personal opinion, except for number 1. Seriously, if you don't agree with me on number 1, get the hell out of here. If you agree with me, great. Tell me about it in the comments below. And if you don't agree with me, well, then tell me about that too. So, those are the rules. Brace yourselves. We're going in. Number 10. Power Rangers Mystic Force. The season is perfectly good, but for whatever reason, I just never got into it. I mean, magic and Power Rangers just seems like oil and water, two things that just don't mix. Maybe that's why the whole premise of the show feels like a weird fanfiction crossover story to me. And you know what? I like how the Rangers have capes. It was neat and an interesting change. What I really didn't like was how the Red Ranger is literally the only character that gets any development at all. They should have just called this season Nick the Mystic Ranger. Number 9. Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. You know what's a good idea? Sideline the main heroes of your TV show to introduce these freaky alien rangers that wore ninja-themed costumes. Not. It's a terrible idea, but they did it anyway. That would be like if Jon Snow skinned his knee while battling White Walkers, and instead of just giving him a band-aid and sending him back out there, they instead call in Geralt from The Witcher to fill in for him. It doesn't make any sense. Since the Power Rangers got turned back into children, Zordon calls on a team of Power Rangers from Aquitar, and for no logical reason, these Rangers up and abandon their own world just to come to Earth and protect it. But what about their home planet? Surely that planet still needs protecting too? Well, apparently not. Anyways, the Alien Rangers weren't able to survive on Earth because they need water to live. You know, because Earth is 70% covered by water, so apparently Earth didn't have enough water. Number 8. Power Rangers Wild Force. I lived and breathed this season when it first came out. I watched every single episode and loved it. At the time. But looking back at it now, it's actually pretty cheesy. The only good performance was Rick Medina as Cole, a guy who was raised in the jungle. He joins a cast of horribly underdeveloped secondary characters. That's right, you heard me correctly. The other Rangers are all secondary characters. Cole, Princess Shayla, Master Organ, Merrick all end up getting way more development than the other Rangers. Probably the best part of the entire season was the arc about a cursed warrior named Zen Aku, who had his own Megazord. He was a powerful and seemingly unbeatable villain, until one day the plot dictated that he not be unstoppable anymore. They broke the curse by, get this, defeating his Megazord. That's it. That's how they broke the curse. They just beat his Megazord. Number 7. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. I definitely don't hate this season, but there were some questionable decisions made during production, all in the hopes of cashing in on the hype from In Space. Most notably was reworking the Sentai footage from Gingerman into another outer space show. This proved difficult because there were no space elements at all in Gingerman, since it has a fairy tale and fantasy motif with an emphasis on nature. To fix this problem, and I say the word fix with bunny quotes, they decided to have the show take place on a terraformed space colony that looks exactly like Earth. The working title for the show was Space Jungle, which would have been even worse than Lost Galaxy. I still think they should have called the show Power Rangers Terraventure. Once people started watching it and discovered that it still has a sort of space theme, the hype from In Space would have remained intact. Number 6. Power Rangers Time Force. Time Force is not a bad season. In fact, it's actually one of my favorites. However, I put it on this list because of one glaring issue that I have with it. There is no time travel in Time Force. The only things that traveled through time were the Zords, which had to go back and forth between the years 2001 and 3000 in every single episode. All the Megazord scenes take place in a modern-day city, and since the Megazord battles make up the third act of every episode, the Rangers couldn't go anywhere because they needed to be back in 2001 for the Megazord battle. Oh, and those time period shots in the opening credits? Yeah, those were actually taken from the two-part episode where the Rangers get stuck in different movie genres. False advertising much? Number 5. Power Rangers Turbo. This is definitely the worst of the Zordon era. There's nothing new or exciting about it, it's just kind of there. It also suffers from a lot of character replacements, most of which were all just hit or miss. Another issue with this season is that it was set up in Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. So right off the bat, the producers start the season by just assuming that everyone saw that movie. While we're on the subject of the movie, in it, the Rangers receive another new set of powers, which Zordon claims are even stronger than the Zeo powers. So then why didn't he just give the original Rangers the Turbo powers back in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Oh yeah, and it probably didn't help that the Super Sentai that Turbo is based on is actually a parody of the Sentai franchise itself. Number 4. Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai. Even though we thought it was incredible growing up, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers actually sucks. The acting is garbage, the writing is garbage, the pacing is garbage. It took nearly 7 years to improve, and when it did, it was called the post-Zordon era. So when I heard that Saban took the reins back from Disney in 2010, I knew that Samurai was either going to be incredible, or just not. Turns out it was the latter. Everything that's wrong with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is wrong with Samurai. The cast consists of a bunch of talentless hacks that have probably never taken drama class, but Jaden is by far the worst.
I'll never forget his last words. I must not fail. I am the Red Ranger.
He delivers all his lines with the same emotionless gusto for 40 whole episodes. It's just painful to listen to. I grouped Samurai and Super Samurai together because all of my criticisms apply to both of them, unlike the next two entries which I have separate criticisms for. Number 3. Power Rangers Megaforce. Samurai was sort of a soft reboot. Then there's Megaforce, which is a hard, in-your-face, still painfully cheesy reboot. Let's call it the diamond of reboots, because diamonds are one of the hardest substances in the world. This time the cast is a bit better, but not much. At the very least, Choi knows how to say lines with personality behind them. And Gia, oh my god, so gorgeous, but so underused. As a general rule of foot, if you ever cast someone that was a competitor on America's Next Top Model, the least you can do is show us a bit more of them. All the Rangers wear the exact same outfits in every episode of both Megaforce and Super Megaforce, so we never get to see Gia in different clothes. Or, you know, in less clothes. Go-Sager, the Sentai Megaforce is based on, had a weird motif of angels and trading cards, of all things. But none of that really transferred to Megaforce, except in the costumes and Zords. The Rangers use cards to transform, but they never acknowledge that they're trading cards, and acquiring new cards to unlock more weapons or Zords isn't a thing based on what little I saw of the show. A man can only take so much cheese. Number 2. Power Rangers Super Megaforce. In Super Megaforce, the Rangers received a new set of powers that, surprise surprise, are stronger than the powers they had before. Again, why didn't Gosei just give them those powers from the start? The concept of transforming into legendary Rangers just doesn't make sense. Gosei never explains why the powers of the legendary Rangers are considered stronger than their new Super Megaforce powers. I was under the impression that all Power Rangers were equal in strength. If that's the case, then there shouldn't be a difference between fighting as SPD or Zeo. This just proves that the entire concept of legendary Rangers was created specifically as fan service. Then of course there's the legendary battle, something that was teased and built up since the first episode of Megaforce. This battle should have taken up an entire episode, but instead we get a pathetic 4-minute sequence that is rife with continuity errors. How can Tommy be there as the Green Ranger if his Green Ranger powers were destroyed? If he was going to be in that battle, it should have been as the Black Dino Thunder Ranger. And why is Corone there as the Pink Galaxy Ranger if Kendrix was brought back to life? Number 1. Power Rangers Operation Overdrive. This season is easily the worst in the Disney era, and also the worst in the history of the franchise. It had potential, though. In terms of acting, it's actually pretty decent. The actors are capable, and the characters are all quite likable. Where the show really fails, in the most incredible way possible, is just in its overall premise. Super Sentai obviously pulled it off, but something must have gotten lost in translation. They tried to do something different and have more than one villain, and it worked, but I kind of wish it hadn't because the villains we got as a result of this are all boring and lame. This show would have been so much better if they had focused more on the premise by eliminating all the villains except for Moltor and Furious. Having the two brothers fight against each other and the Rangers at the same time sounds interesting. But instead, we got this cheesy, convoluted, jumbled mess of a show that changes direction every 45 seconds. And as if all that wasn't already bad enough, Operation Overdrive has one of the most god-awful theme songs in history. It's a rap song, and it's not even a good rap song. Even if it was, I can't fathom why the producers thought a rap song would suit the show. You want an appropriate theme song? Just play a minute of fart sound effects. Whew, that was a lot of words. Anyway, those are my 10 least favorite seasons of Power Rangers. Hope you enjoyed watching the countdown. Hope you'll stick around for the next one in Rangerpaloozaa. It's not going to be best seasons because a lot of the ones that we just talked about are also some of my favorites, so I think it would be redundant to show half of the ones that I just showed. But we will do something else Power Rangers themed in the next episode, and I hope you're looking forward to it, and I will see you guys then. Peace out. See ya.